You're listening to Stand Out Get Noticed, episode 236. Hi there, Rockstar, and welcome to Stand Out Get Noticed. I'm your host, Christina Canters, here with you for another episode. If we haven't met before, I am a speaker, I'm a coach, and the founder of The C Method, where I help high-performing professionals and business leaders to build powerful communication skills. You can learn more at thecmethod.com. Now, I want to give a big shout out, firstly, to Jeff from the USA, podcast listener Jeff, who messaged Aaron, actually. He messaged my husband Aaron this week to say that this podcast has helped him through a tough year. So I want to say a big thank you, Jeff. Thank you for listening, and I'm so glad that this podcast has been helpful for you, and I hope that it continues to provide value for you and help you through whatever it is that you are going through. Now, something I am also very excited about, which you may have heard me talk about before, is that the C Method Academy, which is my members-only monthly training and accountability program, membership is open for the Academy. And it closes this Friday night. And this program is for you if you want to have more impact in the workplace, if you want to let go of your fear and anxiety around public speaking, and you want to develop with a supportive community cheering you on, that program is for you. Go to thecmethod.com/join. Doors are open until this Friday night, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, which is Saturday morning for Australians, so you're very lucky, my Aussie and New Zealand friends. If you're in the US, that is Friday night for you, so make sure you sign up. After that, doors will close and they're not going to reopen until next year, after which the price goes up as well. So if you want to join the Academy at the lowest investment you'll ever pay, then I highly recommend that you jump on that link and sign up. Again, that's thecmethod.com/join. All right, let's talk about what we are going to be exploring in this podcast today. And it's all about how to make your learnings stick. Now, I take it that you're here to learn something, right? Maybe you're here to be inspired, or maybe even entertained, which is fantastic, and I hope this podcast does both. However, this show is intended to teach you new concepts, to help you learn in order to help you improve your life. Be a better speaker, better leader, more confident, feel good about your success. That's what this podcast is all about. But something that I've realized is that it's all well and good for me to share these concepts with you. But what actually is going to help make those concepts stick? And how can you make sure that you actually see results? Now, I know that I love learning, right? So I will read books, I listen to podcasts, I watch videos, I go to seminars, but a lot of the time I still don't get the results that I went to those events or read those books for, because I don't implement. And something that I've learned is that many of you listening, I know I'm not the only one. You're probably in the same boat where you've read books, listened to podcasts, listen to this podcast, watch videos, gone to trainings, gone to seminars, spent money, and still haven't taken the steps in order to get the outcomes that you want. So today I want to share with you my 7 steps. So I was brainstorming and I came up with 7 steps to help you to make whatever it is that you're learning to stick. And you can apply this to any type of learning. Now, in this podcast, I'm relating it back to learning communication and speaking and leadership skills, because that's what I'm all about. But you can apply this to any skill that you're looking to learn. So I want you to walk away after listening to this podcast with a deeper understanding of how you can actually make your learning stick so that you can see the results that you want. Otherwise, the personal development that you're doing, the books, the podcasts, the seminars, etc., they just become like a personal development injection, like a boost, like a sugar hit. that is short-lived. It makes you feel good for a moment. You're like, yeah, I'm like ready to do stuff and be awesome. But then eventually it fades away and it doesn't actually contribute to your long-term benefit. So that's not what I want for you. So if you can follow these steps and take action, then you're going to see more of a result in your life. You're going to feel more confident in yourself. You're going to feel better about what you've created for yourself and potentially inspire others to do the same and, leave that legacy. So let's do it. I've got 7 steps for you. Number one is to believe that you are capable of learning these skills. You might think, well, Christina, that's obvious. But if you have a subconscious belief or a story that's playing around in your head that you think, oh, I'm not naturally a good speaker, or, oh, I'm introverted, so therefore I can't do this. If you have that deep-seated belief, that story, then that's not going to help you, and you are never going to take action if that is what you truly believe. So I want you to really make an effort to understand that you are capable, my friend. You are 100% capable. It is possible for you to learn how to be a better communicator, a better leader, a better speaker. I used to think, right, I'm not saying that I always used to believe this. I used to think that being a good public speaker was something you were born with. You're either good at it or you're not. But I soon learned that communication is a skill that you can learn. And that's what started this whole journey of wanting to teach other people. So I want you to see that it is possible for you. And I don't care where you're at. Everyone can start to learn. I take it by the fact you're listening to this podcast. Chances are you already believe you can learn because you've gone out of your way to find this podcast. So good for you. But there might be some other areas of learning that maybe you're not sure, you didn't realize that you could learn. For example, did you know that you can learn how to make people pay attention to you when you speak? You can learn how to manage your fear and anxiety and not let them overcome you. You can learn how to give feedback without creating conflict. You can learn how to stand up for what you want. You can learn how to keep your cool in heated situations and not let them get to you. You can also learn how to trust yourself. You can learn how to love yourself. And you can learn to be courageous. These are all skills, okay? Wouldn't it be amazing? Can you imagine if you thought to yourself, there's no way that I can learn to love myself? Then you would find yourself stuck forever. So I want you to make it your daily mantra. Whatever it is, the skill that you want to learn that maybe you're thinking, oh, maybe I can't learn that. I'm not naturally good at that. I want you to make it your daily mantra. I can learn to be a better speaker. It is possible for me. And I want you to write that down on a piece of paper and read it out to yourself whenever you can. So that was step 1. Believe you're capable of learning this skill. Number 2 is to get clear on what you want to learn. We need to know what our destination is in order for us to take the steps to get there, right? If you're driving somewhere and you always plug your destination into Google, Google always says, what's your destination? They ask you first. They don't say, which way do you want to go today? They say, what's your destination? So this is what we want to do with our area of learning. Pick one area and make that your focus. So is it to be more assertive? Is that what you want? Is it to manage your anxiety better? Get clear on that. And this is important. It must tie into a deep desire for results. Back in 2015, I knew very little about money, and I wondered why I wasn't doing very well financially. And I did an exercise created by Tony Robbins, or maybe he stole it from someone else. Anyways, it's a good exercise. It's called the Wheel of Life, and it gets you to evaluate all the different areas of your life: financial, career, health, relationships, hobbies, spirituality, that sort of thing. And you look at the areas where you're not doing so well in. And for me, it was money. And I realized that I hadn't been investing time and effort and energy into my education about money. So I got really clear on learning about money and investments. I got really clear on what I wanted to achieve, which is, I want to be more financially well off. And then that helped me to then go out and find the tools and the resources to help me learn. Okay, so once you get clear on what is an area you want to learn, that's going to help you then to make that effort, to take the steps. So that's number 2. Number 3 is to equip yourself with the right tools. So once we've decided on what we want to learn on our destination, it's time to decide what resources and tools you're going to use in order to learn. Because there are many different ways you can learn the same thing. It's kind of like, again, with the Google Maps analogy. If you put in a destination, Google Maps will give you maybe 3 ways to get there. Some of them might take longer than others. Some of them might have a longer distance to travel. Some of them might be hillier than others. And it's up to you to decide which one you want to use, which one works for you. If you're going to cycle to your destination, then maybe you want the way that's not super hilly. If you're going to drive, maybe you want the way that's more scenic. If you're in a rush, maybe you're going to take the absolute quickest one. If you don't want to pay a toll, then maybe you're going to take the free option. You get my drift. So equip yourself with the right tools. You might have already chosen this podcast. Brilliant. I'm very happy for you. Happy for me as well. So maybe you've chosen this podcast as your way of learning. Maybe you like the way that I present the information. Maybe you like the fact that it's audio. Now, you might also go and find some videos. Maybe that's helpful for you too. Maybe you might go and read books. But what's important is that you find someone to learn from that you resonate with, because there are many different people teaching the same thing. But in order for it to stick, you've got to resonate with that person and enjoy listening to them. So find a resource that works for you and that that resonates with you. All right, so that is number 3. Now, number 4, this is one of my favorites, is to take consistent daily action. Now, I did a whole podcast on this. It's called Why Little Things Matter to Your Overall Success. That was episode 190. And I talked about how if you want to achieve something great, it's not the result of one massive piece of effort. It's a result of many small, consistent pieces of action or effort over a long period of time that adds up to that big end result. Arthur Ashe said, "Success is a journey, not a destination. The doing is often more important than the outcome." And I love this. So as you move towards your goal, whether it is to be more assertive or a better leader or to give a presentation at a conference, know that your success is in that consistent daily action. Your success is in that journey. So something that you can do is to pick one thing that you want to implement and do a little bit of that every single day. One of my clients, Jim, we helped him to create a structure for his presentations. And when we met the other day, I asked him how he'd been implementing it. And he said that he hasn't been doing presentations as much, but every week he has a Zoom meeting with his team. And he said that he's been implementing that presentation structure into every meeting. And by doing that every single week, that has helped to cement that learning and to make it stick. Because remember, we're talking about making your learning stick. The more you practice, the more you do it every single day, the more it is likely to stick. An example that comes to mind for me was when I used to stand and present to people, I would always cross my feet, one over the other, and squeeze my legs together really tightly. And that was my default. And something that I wanted to practice, something I wanted to learn to do better was to have a more have a stronger presence when I was speaking in front of people. So I had to practice uncrossing my feet and putting my feet under my hips. So just standing nice and strong with my feet under my hips. And that felt very unnatural at the start. And I had to practice that every single day and keep reminding myself, uncross your feet, put your feet under your hips, stand nice and straight. I had to practice doing that and every single day until, ta-da, it felt natural. And now I do it without even thinking. And now if I cross my legs over, that feels unnatural. And I was running a public speaking training a few weeks ago. And as I was sharing this, I was sharing with the participants, I said, if you want to be an effective speaker and feel confident and project confidence, you've got to physically stand in a way that projects confidence. And one girl said, but that just feels so weird. It feels so weird to stand with my feet apart and to uncross my arms. And I said, of course it feels weird because it's new. It felt weird for me at the start as well. So it's okay for things to feel weird at the start. And you're not going to be perfect at them. But if you do it every single day and practice it every day, eventually it will stick. My mum used to say to me, I remember when my sister and I were kids and mum would keep telling us, pick up your clothes off the floor, put them away, put your clothes away. Eventually we started doing it without her having to ask. And I remember mum saying to me once, if you throw enough mud at a wall, eventually some of it has to stick. So I don't know where she got that from or if she made that up. But yeah, if you eventually keep practicing a skill enough, it'll stick. Number 5. So the fifth step in terms of how to make your learnings stick is to surround yourself with the right people. Now, I cannot emphasize this enough. If you are struggling, if you are not feeling confident, or if you're dealing with strong levels of anxiety, you may not be comfortable sharing this with your boss or your team. After all, it's very difficult to say, hey, I know you promoted me to this position, but I'm struggling and I don't think I've got what it takes. Right? That's not something that everyone wants to share. And it might feel very lonely for you, like you're the only one going through these challenges. And this is why it is so important as you are learning, if you're going through a period of growth, you need to be around other people who understand you and who support you and with whom you're not afraid to open up and say, hey, I'm struggling. Okay, there's something very powerful and reassuring about knowing that you are not the only person going through this. Whenever I run a group training and I always ask people, what are you struggling with at the moment? What's a challenge for you? And I write them up on the board. And then, someone might say, oh, I fear going blank, or I have my hands shake when I'm nervous. And I'll say, who else has this challenge? And I'll raise my hand. And most of the time, you get about 90% of the audience all raising their hand, if not everyone. And then the person who shared that challenge usually looks around and goes, oh, I thought I was the only one. So it's very common to think that you're the only one. And then, and that can get very lonely and tricky. So this is why surrounding yourself with the right people is super important. I joined a networking group of business owners, Fresh Networking. We meet every second Friday for breakfast. And one of the reasons why I joined that group was because I wanted to be surrounded by business owners who have been in business for longer than me. So this is back in 2016, I think, maybe 2017. And I wanted to be around people who had different types of knowledge to me who I could learn from, because I wanted to expand my knowledge as well. And I wanted to meet, people who I could connect with and talk to as humans. And these are people who I wouldn't normally talk to. So I'm talking like mortgage brokers, accountants, financial advisors, insurance brokers, the sorts of professions that seem very grown up and scary to me. I didn't know anyone in those industries, but joining this group got me surrounded by those people. So now when I'm doing things like incorporating my company or buying a house, I have those people around me who can support me, and I'm not alone in it. And I feel, and it's so reassuring to know that I have a network of people I can turn to who understand what I'm going through and can help me. And I know that they have my interests at heart because I have that strong relationship with them. So if you're struggling and you don't have someone within the workplace that you can trust and rely on to help you through, your learnings and your development, then you might need to go externally, right? So maybe you do need to go out and actively find a group of people or, create your own group. I mean, this is why I created the academy, right? This is why I created my group coaching program, because I wanted to create a safe space where people could come together and share what it is that they're going through and support each other. That's how important it is to surround yourself with good people, especially during a period of, growth or going through challenges. All right, we are up to number 6. The 6th way that you can, or step 6, in cementing your learnings is to teach it back to other people. Now, this might seem a bit unusual, but I can share from experience that one of the most effective ways to absolutely cement what you've learned is to teach someone else. Albert Einstein said, I love this quote, he said, "You do not really understand something unless you can explain it to your grandmother," which I love. And what he's saying here is that if you can break a concept down and make it understandable, break it down to its basic, simple concepts, then you understand it super well. I was reminded of this at my Toastmasters club recently. One of our newer members gave his very first speech, and he started off by saying, so the premise was that we were all aliens, and he was explaining his life to us. So he was like, "I want you to all pretend that you're aliens and I've come to your planet and I'm explaining to you a bit about my life." And this was really, really clever because it forced him to simplify his speech right down. For example, he showed a picture of a bicycle and he said, "This is a bicycle. I ride this to work every day. I love doing this." So it was really simple language, and it made so much sense to all of us. Personally, doing this podcast for you, has helped me to learn a bunch of new concepts, because whenever I discover something new and I go, "Oh, that's awesome," I share it here, and it forces me to break it down into a step-by-step process and gets me thinking about it in a new way. Now, in my group coaching program, at the end of the 10 weeks together, what we do is we have a graduation call where each member does a 5-minute presentation teaching us a concept that they learned in the program, right? So I get them to do my job. So I say, teach us about an element of communication and leadership that you've learned. And this gets them thinking. And it's actually very interesting to see how they then teach it back to us, because it's always very different to the way I teach it. And they always put their unique spin on it as well. So to help you learn, so think about how you might apply this. Think about who you can share a concept with that you've learned. So maybe if you lead a team, you can share, elements of what you're learning with your team and teaching it back to them. Maybe, and this would be a great challenge, teach your kids something that you're learning. This would be an amazing challenge. Like, this will force you to really break it down into simple concepts. If you can do that, then I guarantee you that you've grasped the concept, right? If you can explain it clearly. So think about some opportunities that you might have to maybe teach some of these concepts back. And I know one of my clients, I mentioned him before, Jim, he created a speech around what he learned through the coaching, which was really cool. And that's been helping him a lot. All right, we're on to the last point, and that is, so that the last thing that's going to help you to learn is to get feedback. Now, feedback can be very scary and confronting, but if you're committed to learning and making these learnings stick and continuing to improve yourself, this is key. So getting feedback will help you to know if you're on the right track. One thing you can do is to tell people what it is you're doing or looking to improve and ask how you're doing. And get specific. So don't just say, how is this? Or how did I go? Ask for specific feedback. For example, you might say, I'm working on removing ums and ahs and other filler words. Can you listen out for these words and let me know, if I'm umming and ahhing? Or you could say, I'm working down on slowing down when addressing everyone in the meeting. Can you please let me know, what my pace is like? Right? So this type of feedback is absolutely is invaluable. I've been getting my own feedback about the Academy. This is why I created a founding member program. So if you're new to this podcast, earlier this year I opened up the Academy to 10 founding members in order for to receive feedback as I was building the site. And the feedback I've received, it's been super helpful. And it's not always easy to hear, but I've had feedback on, you need to improve the dashboard, how the lessons look. We need more engagement within, this part of the program. And all of these things have been like, okay. And it's been great to hear because this is the first time I've created a membership site and I want it to be as valuable as possible. And I only know as much as I know, but the real value, but it's going to be super beneficial to whoever it is who's in the membership. And for it to be beneficial to them, it needs to fully, it needs to work for members. So that's been one way that I've been getting feedback. Now, one of the most powerful forms of feedback is, and you're not going to like this, video recording. It is so powerful. It's also one of the most confronting forms of feedback. Have you ever thought to yourself, oh my God, I hate seeing myself on video? I totally get you. I used to be exactly the same. I used to be like, oh, am I that much of a dork in real life? Turns out I am, and I just had to embrace that, which is fine. I'm fine with that now because the camera does not lie, all right? The first time I was video recorded public speaking, I was shocked at how often I looked at the floor. I looked at the floor and I said, uncontrollably. Now, I would have not known that, and I wouldn't have been so shocked and horrified if I hadn't seen the video. So video recording is something that I do with all of my clients, and I recommend anyone who's looking to seriously become a better speaker, that is what you need to do. In my group coaching program, here's an example for you. So we record all the coaching calls this is my small group coaching program, Speak Up and Lead. We record all the coaching calls. And at the end of one of the programs, one of my clients, Kelly, she commented that she watched herself back, simply being on the coaching call. She watched herself back from week 1 compared to week 10. And she said that she could see how much her communication had improved in terms of expressing herself, asking questions, being assertive. She could see how much improvement she'd made even in those 10 weeks. And she could only notice that through seeing herself back on video. So I guarantee you that it is a powerful form of feedback. So that is the final thing I wanted to share with you around how to make your learnings stick. To quickly recap, number 1, believe that you are capable of learning these skills. Number 2, get clear on what you want to learn. 3, equip yourself with the right tools. 4, take consistent daily action. 5, surround yourself with the right people. 6, teach it back to others. And 7, give feedback. Now, moving forward, if you want to implement what you've learned from this podcast, implement those steps, but absolutely start with step 1. So I would recommend going through it step by step. Now, if you want a recap of this episode, go to thecmethod.com/236. I'll put links to other podcasts that I've mentioned, as well as that Wheel of Life exercise. I'll pop it in the show notes as well. And of course, as I mentioned at the top of this episode, if you are looking to develop your communication skills and your leadership and your confidence, and you want to be supported in that journey, then I invite you to join the C Method Academy, which is our monthly members-only training and accountability program. Doors close this Friday night, and they won't be opening until next year, and then the price goes up as well. So to learn more about that program, all the details are at thecmethod.com/join. Thanks so much for listening, and I can't wait to speak with you next week. Keep on being awesome. I'm Christina Canters, and this has been Stand Out, Get Noticed.